Okay guys, welcome back to a new video, and this one is a big one and I'm going to go into a lot of detail and this is exactly what I would do to drop 10 kg in the next 12 weeks if I was traveling regularly for work. And I want to stress that this plan, this schedule, this method works for any kind of like travel work routine. But for this example, I'm going to use the schedule of you're at home for 1 week and then away for 1 week, just to make it really simple and make it feel a bit more real. But it can be manipulated to any travel schedule. In terms of my history of doing this kind of thing, when I lived in France for about 4 or 5 months, for the first time out of about 4 or 5 times, and the first period of time I lived in Cyprus as well, I really tried to prioritize my fitness, but had no structure. And during these periods, I was traveling a lot within these countries, and so my schedule was pretty inconsistent. And I had very little structure. I was eating in hotel buffets regularly. I was traveling through airports a lot and eating out at restaurants. It left me heavier. It left me sluggish and just not feeling good about my body. And it felt like I was swimming against the tide, and I was just fighting a losing battle. And then during the years following COVID, when I started to travel again after the lockdowns, and I realized that this kind of travel, this kind of life, this schedule would just keep knocking me back and back when I tried to focus on my fitness. If I didn't have some sort of system or structure in place that would help me tackle it. I needed a method that I could stick to no matter where I was, no matter what my environment was and what I had access to. And I started trying a load of things, and that's what the 3P method has now become today. And it's a perfected, proven, and simple to follow system that now helps other men who travel regularly for work take back control of their schedule and their fat loss without tracking every single calorie whilst you're away or attempting to, and making sure that your inconsistent routine doesn't keep throwing you off your training plan or your food plan, your diet plan, so you can actually keep making progress and not start again after you return home every single time. So what I'm about to go through is obviously a step-by-step, exactly what I would use now, what I have used in the past, what my clients use to improve my body, to drop body fat and build strength as a man traveling regularly for work. So sit back, relax, get a pen and paper, take some notes, and just absorb all this information. And stick around until the end, because I'm going to do an exact 12-week breakdown on how I'd manipulate calories, steps, etc. Basically giving you an overview of how the 12 weeks could pan out. So the first part is setting the foundation, okay? And it's tracking your food at home. And this is what I do with a lot of clients for about a week who have no experience tracking their food or dieting or tracking calories. Just to lead, it's to teach, so you can do this by yourself and you gain this knowledge. However, if the goal, like it is in this video, is to lose 10 kg in 12 weeks, and it's probably best if you can manage it to jump straight into tracking, jump straight into a deficit, and not going through this little phase of tracking and learning kind of how it works and getting used to the process. If I was going to do this is exactly how it would look. I would spend a week tracking what I eat normally, adding it to my MyFitnessPal, seeing how to use the app, getting used to it, and weighing myself daily. So we get an average weight. We can see how your weight changes throughout the week. We can see the amount of food you're actually eating compared to what you think, and we can see how it changes. This will also give you a nice understanding and a bit of base knowledge as to what calories are contained within certain foods. And the point of this isn't to start dieting straight away. It's to get an understanding of what calories are in foods, to get an understanding of where some hidden calories may be that will quickly stock up that you might not realize you're consuming, just to get used to the app. And to be fair, a lot of my clients find this very eye-opening, and they can see how things can quickly add up from like oils, sauces, and healthy snacks like nuts and things like this. And if I couldn't do this for a week, I'd aim just to do what I could. 2 to 3 days, I would be disciplined and I would make sure I'm as accurate as I possibly could be, because even a few solid days can help. Then I would set the initial target. So I would look at how much weight I want to lose in how long. So obviously this example would be 10 kg in 12 weeks. So I would divide 10 by 12, which gives you about 0.83. Then what I would do is ignore that. Why? And I know because a lot of coaches may think that doesn't make any sense. But for men who travel for work, this is different, right? Our situation isn't perfect. And if we set a goal weight to lose per week and we really focus on that, it's good to have it there as a motivation and a guideline of how fast we need to lose the weight to get to the goal you have. But we need to also understand that our situation is difficult. And if we have one bad week or a trip that doesn't go to plan or something that was way out of our control that we really couldn't do a lot about and it throws us off, then this could lead to bad habits or the playing catch-up mindset that we don't want to do, because likelihood is it's going to make the process harder for us to adhere to, but it's also going to lead to maybe us doing something more extreme that will lead to potentially losing muscle mass, our mood being affected, our energy, these kind of things. So yeah, having a goal is good, but understanding that your situation is more difficult than someone who's at home doing a 9 to 5. And actually, we might just need to take it week by week. So in this example, if I were say 83 kilos, here's exactly what I'd do and how I would work it out. You'd get your calories by doing your weight in kilograms times 30. This is 2,490 calories. We'll round it up to 2,500 for this example. You get your protein by timesing your weight in kilos by 2.2, which would be 182 grams. And you get your fat by timesing the protein amount by 0.4, which would come out as 73 grams. This is the minimum amount of fat I'd want you to eat. And I wouldn't go below this amount of fat because we need a certain amount to make sure our hormones are regulating properly, to aid brain health, to aid heart health. And of course, I'd aim to get fats from mostly quality sources like oily fish, avocado, olive oil, eggs, yogurt, these kind of things. And for carbs, it would be whatever calories are left after the protein and fats. So in this case, protein calories would come out as 728 by timesing 182 by 4. Fats would be 73 times 9, which is 657 calories. Combined together is a total of 1,385 calories. So 2,500 calories minus 1,385 equals 1,115 calories left for carbs. And if we divide that by 4, we get 279 grams of carbs. But if I was really overweight, then I wouldn't use my actual weight to calculate my protein and my fat goals. I would use my goal weight or just above it to make sure I'm not setting myself unrealistically high protein and fat goals. And just touching on what we just covered, so we need to understand macros and calories. So in 1 gram of protein, there is 4 calories. In 1 gram of carbs, there is 4 calories. And in 1 gram of fat, there is 9 calories. That's how we worked out how many calories we got allocated to the certain number of grams of each macronutrient. You're probably thinking, well, fat is more calorie dense, so I want to eat as little fat as possible to be able to eat more food and hopefully feel fuller. But as I said, fat is essential. It has some really serious and important benefits. So by cutting it too low, we're going to be causing more problems. So I would not recommend reducing the fat before we reduce the carbs. In terms of the app setup, I would use MyFitnessPal. It's easy to use once you get used to it, and the free version is absolutely fine. With the paid version, you get the barcode scanner feature, but you don't really need it because once you search for a food once, it's in your search history forever. But a couple of quirks to be aware of is quite often if your MyFitnessPal links itself to your activity apps on your phone, it might add calories that you're allowed that have been earned through exercise. So if it says any calories by the exercise section, allowing you to eat more, ignore those calories. And also when you're setting your goals that you've worked out, with the free version, you can only select percentages of your total calories for proteins, carbs, and fats. So if you can't get it exactly, then just get it as close as you can and don't stress. Then we need to look at the baseline structure of your plan going forward for these 12 weeks. So once we've got our calories, we've got our macros, we're set up in the app, we need to create 3 things. I need to pick a consistent meal structure that I can follow when I'm at home, but also then when I'm away with work. For example, 3 meals and 1 snack. I need a step target based on my current average, and we'll cover that a little bit later in the video. And I need to commit to a structured and realistic workout routine with backups and adaptations for when I'm a bit limited with equipment and what I have available. And we'll cover this more during the video as well. Within your lifestyle, when you're traveling lots, the periods of time whilst you're at home, that's your opportunity to be precise. And if you're really serious about losing 10 kg in 12 weeks, which in this example I am, you can't afford to coast while you're at home and take a few days to get back into it. So an example meal structure that I'm going to follow for this example for my 2,500 calorie day of eating at 83 kg body weight. My breakfast is going to be 600 calories. My lunch is going to be 750 calories. My snack is going to be 400 calories, and then my dinner is also going to be 750 calories. And for your protein target, it's good to have an idea in your head about how you want to split that up over your 4 meals in my example. So what I'll be doing, just to make it super easy, and I'd recommend you do the same, I'm going to split it 50, 50, 50, 32. And of course, this is what we're aiming for. We're not going to be perfect to the absolute number, but we want to just get as close as we can to each number and be as consistent as we can over time. These are some core rules that I would follow to make sure I'm giving myself the best chance of losing this weight. I would make sure every meal has a considerable protein source. I would prioritize high volume, low calorie foods like fruit, vegetables, potatoes, and lower fat dairy alternatives. And I'd eat plenty of fiber. And not only does it slow digestion and keep you full, but studies show that high fiber intake reduces chances of prostate cancer and in general reduces all-cause mortality. Right, 4 habits that I would build to make my life and my diet easier over this 12 weeks. The first one being repetition. And I'd be eating the same meals often because it's going to save me mental energy and also make it easier to eyeball portions when away. The next one, bulk cooking. I'd be cooking my meals in bulk, so I've got prepped meals in the fridge that I can just grab and go, making it as easy as I can for myself. And if you've said you don't like meal prep, but you've never actually tried it, then I'm calling you out. It saves you a load of time and it's 100% worth it. You'll have prep meals you can just grab and go, and it makes it so much easier. And I never actually did it. It was something I kind of said I didn't need to do, but since I started my own business, it saves me so much time. So I recommend it to everyone, and I do to all my clients. The next one is protein snacks. I'd have access to protein bars, jerky, yogurts, these kind of things all the time whilst at home. So I know when I'm away, I can pick up things similar because these things I can get in most shops. The last habit I'd make sure I build is I track absolutely everything. And I know it can be a bit of a pain at first, it can feel a bit daunting, but even my older clients, they give it a go, they stick at it, and they find it difficult at first, but after a week or maybe 2 weeks max, it gets much easier. And actually, once we stop guessing, that's when we start making results. And I'd urge you to go and check out some of the interviews I've done with my clients who have lost loads and loads of weight and look amazing, feel amazing, and they've been there, they've done that, they've struggled, and they've continued, and they've got through it, and they've got the result they wanted. So I'll link the videos, a few of them, in the description below, and I'd urge you to go and listen, because hearing it from the people who've been there and done that, there's nothing more that there's only so much that I can say, but hearing from people that have actually done it, and that will hopefully give you a good idea of that. It's not difficult, and it just requires a bit of consistency. So now we're going to talk about the nutrition whilst you're on your work trip, okay? So whilst you're away, and this is where the discipline is tested, but it's where the results are made, and where most people in your situation, and probably where you have struggled and been set back time and time again over the years. And this is where you stand out and are superior than the previous you, but also other people in similar situations as you who haven't got what it takes and have just accepted that their lifestyle and their work travel schedule just means they're overweight. And this is where that structure that I built at home is going to be my absolute anchor and is going to carry me through the next week whilst I'm away. What I do is I'd aim for the same number of meals and snacks whilst I'm away, and I'll be aiming to keep my portion sizes as similar as I can. And a little hack, I would be taking photos of some of the meals, the ones that I have quite often at home. So I have it there on my phone. If I need to just compare it quickly to what I've got in front of me to decide whether this is about the same, slightly more, slightly less. What I'm aiming to do is to be within 10% of the calories that I allocated to that meal or snack when I'm at home. And if I feel like it's gone slightly over, then I just reduce the next meal or snack by a little bit, and vice versa. And as I said, this is where real discipline and motivation is needed. And that's why I will be, and I'd recommend you, anchoring yourself to a serious reason why you are doing this and why you want this end result. Just in the moments where a decision could go either way, and it may be difficult to stay on track. For example, Liam and Richard both had baby girls recently, and so they wanted to be in a position where they could be the healthiest dads they can be for their new baby and for their wives, and to be the best role model they could be to their child. Ahmad actually made a promise to his son that he would achieve his goal weight by Christmas. He is determined to be the role model to his son that he feels like his son deserves. And Kevin wanted to feel confident in his body when he was around his wife, getting changed in front of his wife, something he'd lost for many years. And as a more extreme example, I don't know if you know, but Eddie Hall, who is a British strongman, he was the first man to lift a deadlift of 500 kilograms. His why, and it's pretty extreme, was that he pretended or got into the mindset that he was lifting a burning car off his wife and children. And this was where he had to go in order to achieve that goal. And he did it by identifying as the man who could do that in that moment. And self-identity is such a strong thing. And by identifying as the person who has achieved the goal already, you are way more likely to achieve that. And I actually did a talk about this on a call with my clients recently. And so I'll put the link in the description to that video, and you can go and check that out if you feel like that would be useful for yourself. It's also important to understand hidden calories and where they can creep in, and moments where we can't track and we're not necessarily cooking our food. So what I'd make an extra effort to look out for is things like sauces, oils, syrups, butters, coffees with syrups and creams. What particular foods are cooked in, like butter and oil. I'd always ask the hotel or the restaurant or the waiter what it's cooked in, and if it is cooked in something that you maybe don't want it cooked in, then getting it cooked slightly differently. And I'd also be careful about picking at snacks throughout the day. In the moment it seems like something very small, but it will add up. And in a situation where you have things out of your control, you need to be confident in your food choices, right? So if I'm going out and paying for dinner, or I'm eating in a hotel and I've paid for it, I wouldn't be embarrassed to ask how a certain food was cooked, or what it was cooked in, or whether the mash has a load of butter or cream added to it, or to swap chips for a side salad or grilled vegetables. Many men, including possibly you, lead people, lead teams in their place of work, and actually they're too scared to ask the waiter to put a sauce on the side. That mindset needs to change if you're going to lose 10 kg in 12 weeks. And our goal is to stick with similar foods to what we eat at home. Obviously this can't always be the case, but this really helps if we can do it where possible. That way, eyeballing the portions and staying consistent is so much easier, and we can prioritize being consistent over being perfect. In terms of your training, we're going to go into that now. So I would run 3 full body resistance sessions per week. None of this HIIT or circuit training rubbish. We want to be stimulating the muscles properly to promote as much growth as possible, so that when we've lost this 10 kg of body fat, we're not looking like a plastic bag full of porridge. And the aim of this training that we're doing is not to burn calories, it's to promote muscle growth. Why am I going to do full body sessions? Well, if our schedule does go crazy or it changes last minute, because if travel throws you off, then you've still already done 2 sessions where you've hit every body part. And I'd aim for 6 hard sets per muscle group per week. So that's 3 sessions, that would be 2 hard sets at each muscle group per session. And if you can get slightly more in, because you have a bit more time available, then perfect, that's a bonus. But we can also increase this over time as a form of progressive overload. And how and where to track your sessions in the easiest and simplest way possible, I'll cover a little bit later in the video. Whilst we're away, we want to keep it simple. Less is more, and intensity is everything. And to keep it really simple, if you use the link in the description to visit my Instagram and DM me the word training, I will send you a 3-day training session plan that you have for when you're in a normal gym at home, but also an adapted version if you have a limited hotel gym access whilst you're away. It's this one right here on screen that also comes with a nutrition guide for when you're away. The training principles I would then follow is every session I would be trying to progress, whether that's in the weight, whether that's in the reps, slower tempo or better form. And intensity, as I said earlier, means everything. So I want to be pushing every set to failure, which is especially important if we only have light weights available, which may be the case when we travel for work, so we have to be a bit flexible. For example, if we would usually do barbell bench press, we may want to do dumbbell chest press if there's no barbell bench available. Or if there's not heavy dumbbells, we could do machine chest press. Or if there's no machine, then we could do push-ups with our feet raised. Or a band around our back and under our hands to add some extra resistance. If the dumbbells are too light but you still want to use them, then I'd slow the tempo down, slow the reps. We'd introduce drop sets, but also pauses. And if push-ups are too hard, then I'd just control the negatives, or do them on your knees, or on a wall at an angle, or use a resistance band in the opposite direction to add assistance. The exercise though doesn't necessarily matter. What's most important is that we work the muscle hard and we adapt to what's available. Next, we want to look at our steps and cardio, and we'll touch on steps first. I'd track my current average for a week and then add 1,000 to that. It's simple and realistic, but it's also a slight challenge. And I'd stick to it for a week and then reassess. We don't reassess midweek because our weight fluctuates, and actually we need a full week to get a realistic and reliable average. And I'd be disciplined here. Even if my weight jumped up one day, I'd keep my head down and not react. And most importantly, I wouldn't let travel days, busy days, conferences stop me from getting my steps in. I'd walk whilst on the phone, I'd pace the airport terminal instead of just sitting for 2 hours, get up early and go on a morning walk before work. I'd walk to the office instead of driving if I could. I'd use breaks for short walks, and I'd also, if I got back late from travel and I hadn't hit my step goal, I would be going out to do some steps. Even if I didn't hit my goal, by getting out and doing some is building that discipline that will benefit you throughout this process. But also, if I finish my day slightly under, then the following day I will just add on and go slightly over by the same amount. Cardio is something we can use as a tool for sure. I wouldn't necessarily add it in at the start. If you would like to, then that's absolutely fine. But for me, and for somebody with a busy lifestyle, traveling lots, I would bring it in when necessary. Steps, diet, and training is enough at the start. Later in the process, I would use cardio as an extra calorie burning tool or as a healthier alternative if I didn't want to keep cutting food that was really low already. The cardio I will be doing is LISS exercise, so it's low intensity steady state at around 50 to 65% of your max heart rate, which you'd work out by doing 220 minus your age. So for a 40-year-old, it would be 180 your max heart rate, and therefore 50 to 65% would be the range between 90 and 115 beats per minute. Some good options would be incline treadmill walking, maybe a static bike or a cross trainer. Swimming's also a good one, but obviously with our travel and inconsistent facilities available, that might not be one you can keep up very well. An example session on the incline treadmill might be 20 minutes on 5 to 10% incline at speed 5 for 3 times a week. And then I'd log the incline, the speed and the time in my phone so that I can replicate it again and again and progress it when I need to. Next, in terms of planning and preparation, this is going to stop you ever being unprepared and having to react to what's going on that could lead to a bad decision. And I'd always keep my travel schedule visible on the fridge, in my phone calendar, and I would look at it 1 week ahead of time so I can make a plan and prepare. And in terms of what I would think about taking on these work trips, this is a list of stuff. So write these things down. That would be really useful for when you go away to stay on track. Protein snacks, bars, jerky, whey. Whey is the big one that I will be taking, and I will measure out how many scoops, probably on average 2 per day, and take it with me in my bag. A shaker bottle or some sort of reusable water bottle, resistance bands, smartwatch or step tracker, travel scales if possible, if you can fit. Whenever I went to a new country, I would always take a food scale, a small food scale, and a weighing scale. Gym kit and shoes, and supplements and any meds, obviously, like creatine, these kind of things, which I recommend everybody takes. Right, and what we want to do to make sure we know we are progressing is we want to track as much progress as we can. So the first one being weighing ourselves. And we want to do this every morning whilst we're at home, after we've gone to the toilet, ideally, and before we eat or drink anything, in our boxes, in the same conditions every single day. And ideally, as I said, you'd bring some weighing scales with you whilst you're away. I will be doing that in this example. If you can't, ask the hotel reception. If that's not possible, then I wouldn't stress about it, but I would recommend just being consistent when you're at home. In regards to tracking steps, I'd use the health app on your iPhone, because everybody has an iPhone, and if you don't, what's going on? Or some sort of smartwatch. I've had my one, which isn't on my wrist. It's charging, but I've had it for 5 years. It was a fairly cheap Garmin and it's still going strong. In terms of logging your training, keep it as simple as you can. I just use the Notes app on my phone. I have done for years, as long as I've been training. Just record the weight, record the reps, and then try and beat it the following week. And in terms of the actual training you're doing, it can be made super complicated today. And if you look online, there's 1,000,001 different exercises you can do to optimize muscle growth for that body part. And yeah, if your aspirations are to go on a bodybuilding stage, then you probably want to optimize everything. But for the average person who wants to lose some weight, build a bit of muscle, and improve the way they feel in their body, we can do what we enjoy, don't overcomplicate it, and what you're comfortable with. And over time, we can introduce new movements, but for this 12-week period, to lose 10 kg, do something you're comfortable with, and don't overcomplicate it. In terms of the cardio, it's very simple. Just record the speed, the incline, the time, whatever it is, depending on what machine you're on, and then track it in your notes. I recommend to all my clients, and I would do this on this 12-week journey, is to take progress photos every week in the same conditions, in the same light, in the same clothing, same distance from the camera, and in the morning again before eating or drinking anything. And for when you're working away and traveling regularly, just do them as consistently as you can. If it's not every single week, then that doesn't matter. If it's every 10 days, then that's absolutely fine. We just want to do it as consistently as we can, because we can identify progress through those pictures sometimes, maybe if the scale weight hasn't changed. And I would always recommend taking a video at the start of you topless in the same conditions as your progress photos. Turn every angle and just show off every angle of your body. So then during the process, you can really see all the changes that are going on. And I encourage all my clients to do this. And as you can see, Matt did this and the video is awesome. This will also help to motivate you to look back on when things are getting tough. Now we're going to go over exactly what I would do if progress stalled. If the weight loss slows, I wouldn't panic. That's the most important thing. We can make poor decisions for our journey if we panic when things aren't going the right way. And I would just adjust one of these levers. I'd either increase my steps by 2,000 per day for that week. I'd either increase my cardio by 5 to 10 minutes, or I'd reduce my calories by 5 to 10%, taking the majority of that 5 to 10% from carbohydrates. As an example, reducing my calories from 2,500 to 2,250. And I'd keep my protein and my fat steady, reducing the calories from carbs, because protein and fat are essential for our body. And although carbs are our body's main energy source, they are not essential, and so that's where we take the calories from to start with. And this is super important, right? And is fundamental to you continuing to make progress when you have this schedule of being home and being away. Whilst we're at home, we can manipulate our calories and our steps or activity. Whilst we're away, we always keep our calories the same because we can't track perfectly, and we stay consistent with our meal structure and our portion sizes. But we can manipulate our steps or cardio by increasing them while we're away, okay? That is key to progressing and losing the 10 kg over the 12 weeks. So what I'm going to do now is run you through that exact 12-week timeline and how it may pan out and what changes that I would make. So for the first 2 weeks, I would set my calories at 2,500, 8K steps per day, and 3 times weight sessions per week. And the likelihood is, when we initially set that deficit, we lose a decent amount of weight. Obviously, part of it being water weight, but also the initial deficit, it's a bit of a shock to our body, and so we lose a chunk of weight, all right? So for week 1 and week 2, we'd probably stay on the same calories, cardio, steps, and weights. Then for week 3, whilst I'm at home, if weight loss has slowed a little bit, then I would take 250 calories off my total and adjust my meal structure so my portions fit the new calorie total. And I would keep everything else the same. For week 4, when I'm then away again to continue fat loss, I would leave the calories the same because we don't change them while we're away for work, but I would increase our steps by 2,000 steps per day to 10K. Week 5, while I'm back home, I may adjust my calories down to 2,100, leave the steps the same at 10K. Then for week 6, whilst we're away again, to continue fat loss, I might do everything the same, but add in 2 20-minute incline treadmill low intensity cardio sessions at a speed of 5 kilometers per hour and with an incline of 10%. And then I come home, and for week 7, maybe that introduction of cardio has meant significant weight loss. And actually, so we don't want to adjust anything, because if we continue doing the same for the next week, likelihood is we'll still make more fat loss progress. And so for week 7, we're at home and we keep everything the same. The likelihood is then we've been on the same plan for 2 weeks, so weight loss has probably tapered off. So we want to make a change. So week 8, while we're away, we want to increase our steps by 2K again. So we're currently on 2,100 calories, 12,000 steps per day, and 2 times 20-minute cardio sessions per week. Then for week 9, we're back home again, and maybe our weight only drops by 0.3 kg. And so we want to make a slight adjustment. And so we bring our calories down from 2,100 to 2,000, just to keep that fat loss going. Week 10 then comes, we're away again, and we need to manipulate something to continue weight loss while we're away. We never manipulate our food while we're away, so we maybe include an extra cardio session a week. So now we're at 3 times 20-minute cardio sessions. We're coming towards the end of this 12-week phase now, and likelihood is we're getting close to that 10 kg mark. So for week 11, we're back home, and maybe just to finish off and get to where we want to be, we'll reduce our calories to 1,800, stick with the 3 20-minute cardio sessions and 12K steps a day. Throughout this whole process, remember, we've been doing 3 resistance full body sessions per week. And maybe 1 week we weren't able to get 3 in, we got 2 in. Maybe a couple of times it's happened. But by being consistent, and the past is in the past, and we just focus on getting that session in that day, we're giving ourselves the best chance of building muscle or just retaining all our muscle mass during this process of fat loss. Week 12 then comes, you're away, you are feeling fitter, leaner, lighter, you've been disciplined for a 12-week period and you've seen the results. And so just to recap, the most important things during this process, if you travel regularly with work and you want to lose a significant amount of weight, is that we build the foundation by tracking at home. That is super important, building that foundation whilst we track. And we lock in our nutrition whilst we're at home. So we have a clear plan in place for when we're not at home. And then we stick to that structure whilst we're away. It's important that we train hard, we walk more, and we include some cardio if we need to. And the fundamentals to making sure we achieve that goal is that we plan ahead, we track our progress as much as we can, and we adapt when we need to. And remember, and I say it all the time, it's not about perfection, it's just about being disciplined as consistently as you possibly can. And if I can do it, and my clients can all do it, whilst living out of airports and hotels and commuting for hours all over the place, and with inconsistent routines and facilities available, then you can do it. And remember, this works for any travel schedule, but obviously some can be way more difficult to manage. So if you feel like this process and this method and this way of doing things can help you finally achieve the results that you've wanted for a while but you haven't got to because of your work schedule and your work travel, and you want me to come in and help you manage the situation to get you the best results that you could possibly get, and most importantly, manage your unique situation because everybody's is different, then use the link in the top line of the description to book in a free call where we can just go over your situation, how I would help implement my system into your unique situation, and let's get the show on the road. And of course, like this video, subscribe to my channel if you found this helpful, and comment your kind of schedule and what you do and how it impacts you trying to achieve the fat loss that you want to achieve. But also add the date and the weight you're at right now. So once we've got to work and we've achieved your results or you've implemented this yourself, you can come back and see where you were, what stage you were at, when you started, when you got the inspiration, and when you got to work. So on that note, I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next video.